Welcome to the Towers Underground podcast with Brandon White,
Brian Ferguson,
and Robert Thackeray, director of the Academy Award-winning movie La La... Fuck.
I think I saw that on a tube site one time.
That was great.
Welcome to episode 1 of Steve Harvey Mistakes.
Oh, god damn it.
All of them?
It's coming back.
I love how not, like Steve Harvey's racism is very thinly veiled.
Yeah, he doesn't even try to hide any of it, and yet he's still a very... It actually goes to show that there really is a bias against atheism, because it's one of those kind of groups that you can just be like, oh yeah, fuck them. And nobody really cares, other than, like, other atheists.
I don't care. That's called being a nihilist.
Yeah, I also don't really care that much just because I don't value Steve Harvey's opinion or comedy.
Stephen A. Smith is also a thinly veiled racist.
He also look... Never mind.
What? No, we're going to go there? Hairlines? What are we doing?
It's going to be hairlines and mustaches, and then I thought about what I was saying, and I was like, this is going to be taken one way and one way only.
Racist?
Yeah.
In the ass.
Also,
Racist.
Yes.
Wrong, Thackeray. You were wrong. But hopeful.
Rapist? Steve Harvey's a rapist.
Now this is slander.
Therapist. According to his TV show.
What's that? He has a couple. Or had a couple. He's been on a couple.
He has the Steve Harvey show, and I guess, yeah, he has a couple, because he's still on Family Feud.
So the Steve Harvey show is still in production?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a talk show, kind of like Arsenio Hall show, or Ellen, or whatever, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Where, like, he gives bad relationship advice because that's all that he has to give.
That's good.
Yeah.
How many bad relationships do you think he's had?
A few.
So he should be an authority on the subject.
I mean, no less an authority than Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil's...
Cunt.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually sat
Allegedly.
down
I was going to say, I can't say all the slanderous things.
watched any of that. I think the only one that I've watched all the way through a couple episodes of would be Ellen.
Because she dances, right?
Because Ellen's charismatic and she makes me like her.
Yeah.
But, like, the Dr. Phil, Oprah, Rosie O'Donnell, Steve Harvey kind of shows never really... I'm not a middle-aged woman.
That's true.
So I'm not their target audience.
No, you're not.
But they've never really caught my eye at all, and I'm not really sure what they do.
That makes sense.
I really like that that Dr. Oz was involved in, like, a scandal, and people were like, he's a fraud, and Oprah was like, sign him an extension.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a show, too.
Mm-hmm. Both him and Dr. Phil were signed by Oprah.
Yeah, they were originally guests that would be on her show, like, once a season, roughly.
Yeah, they were guests who would give out bad advice to people who really needed help.
Yeah, like middle-aged women that don't know shit about fuck.
Yeah.
Like, like Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Ugh. Slander.
No, she really doesn't know shit about fuck.
Yeah. I dare her to sue us, because first she's going to have to define what that even means. What does it mean to not know shit about fuck? Well, you see...
Define sue.
That actually reminds me that Penn and Teller's show Bullshit on Showtime that was running for several years, they actually cursed as much as they did because that way they would not be really open to lawsuit. Just because the claims would be so outrageous that they, in a court of law, they just wouldn't be taken seriously.
They'd be like, what the shit fucking ass and ball sack is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even a coherent sentence. You can't present that to a judge. He'd be like, well, fuck, I don't shit.
Right. I mean, Penn Jillette would regularly, when it came to speaking about, like, reprehensible people, say or use the phrase, fuck them in the neck. Which is, first off, the right thing to say whenever you want to tell somebody to get fucked, because get fucked is inherently a positive thing. But get fucked in the neck is less positive.
This man doesn't visit many tube sites, I see. Speaking of tubes, spoiler alert, they fuck a lot of women in the neck.
Do they?
Via the mouth receptacle.
So yesterday I watched 2 horror movies.
Did you?
Well, 1.5. I didn't get through the last one.
All right, let's start with the last one then.
Huh? It was Tusk.
Okay.
I didn't get through it.
Why?
I was uncomfortable. It's the most uncomfortable I've been in recent memory.
Really? 'Cause
Yes.
I've watched Tusk. I've seen it twice now.
So I read
once at work, by the way.
When it first came out in 2015, I was like, "Oh, cool, Kevin Smith movie." I read the review on it, and based on the synopsis, I was like, "This movie's going to terrify me, so I'm never going to watch it."
Fill me in. Synopsis.
Okay, so the synopsis, so there's two synopses. So there's the synopsis of how it was created, and then there's the actual film synopsis. How it was created was
this story's arguably more
on
entertaining.
On a podcast or on one of his Smodcast episodes, which is Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. While really, really high, came across like kind of like a Craigslist article type thing of some guy who just kept or wanted to like rent out a room and also kept rambling about walruses. So Kevin Smith decided to take that concept to its illogical extreme of like, what if this person was a serial killer who was obsessed with walruses? Now, the synopsis of the movie is kind of the same concept, except the person would modify his victim's body to become a walrus and then force them to behave as a walrus.
So if you have a fetish for orgies with Jamie Hyneman, you just watch this movie?
Yeah, it's great.
That's exciting.
Now, are you uncomfortable with the whole body modification concept?
I don't know what it is specifically that made me uncomfortable, but I think, like... So I got to the point where, and this is going to be semi-spoilers, but I didn't get past this point, so it's only about 40 minutes into the movie. He cut off his leg.
Yeah.
And it's pretty gruesome already. They make you look at that leg, and it's like a very shitty job of like cutting off somebody's leg and sewing it back up. And he's obviously really drugged up, and the guy's like giving him the shittiest story about why this happened. And because he's so drugged up, he's like,
yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, he's like, that just doesn't really make any sense, but sure, whatever, cool. And then they cut to him having dinner with the guy, and this guy is in a wheelchair. He's been in a wheelchair this whole time. And they're eating, and he at one point he just like kind of snaps out of it. And he's like, "You're not like this is fucked. I'm like obviously trapped. I'm immobilized. Like get me the fuck out of here." And he starts yelling. And the guy stands up, smacks him across the face, and gets back down. And he's like, "Now I have a walrus suit." And I'm like, "All right, I'm done." I was like, this is. I was like, this. It's like it's already gotten to the point where it's so gruesome and grotesque,
sure.
And the thought of it is already making me like almost physically ill.
Okay.
For them to, and I like looked, I was like, oh my god, we've still got like another hour of this left. I can't. I was like, I cannot. And I've gotten through Saw and Hostel, no problem. I've gotten through so many other horror movies, and this one just did not sit with me at all. Like he was polishing the tusks at one point,
yeah,
and I was like, oh my god. That was the point at which I was like, okay, maybe I can't go any further. And then I let it go a little bit further, and I was like, no.
Was the serial killer left-handed?
I have no idea.
Because I was just thinking if it was a shitty cut on the leg, maybe he was using scissors and he was, not right-handed. And I mean, you've ever tried to cut something with scissors and like you do it right-handed, it's a perfect cut. And you try to do it left-handed and you like fucking make a snowflake out of a goddamn.
I don't know. I mean,
pop.
I could see how this could like fall because it seemed like cheesy B horror, but like it because the actors that he got are they're.
It stars Justin Long as the protagonist, and Michael Parks is the antagonist. Michael Parks, you probably know from Dusk Till Dawn. He's in the shootout scene at the beginning of the movie.
Justin, also you can tell it's a B movie because Justin Long is the star.
Haley Joel Osment is also in it as Justin Long's like best friend slash
podcaster,
co-podcaster. Yeah, there are no redeemable, or there are no like likable characters in this movie. There's really only like 5 characters.
I saw Justin Long, his roommate and or best friend and or podcaster or whatever, his girlfriend, and then this guy. So if there's other characters, I didn't get that far.
Did you get to the point with Guy Lapointe?
Who's that?
Okay. Guy Lapointe is it's the character's name. It's played by Johnny Depp in one of his better roles. Because it's Johnny Depp doing what he does best in kind of like ridiculous, over-the-top makeup and acting.
Being weird.
Exactly. He plays like a weird French-Canadian inspector. In the best way possible. And I mean this sincerely.
I think it's the sense of realism in what was happening, but the also like craziness of somebody could like
how
really...
extreme the concept is.
And how easily, like, possible it was seemingly to make for this guy. And I wasn't even going to get to the point where he debuted the walrus suit, because I was like, regardless, this is going to give me nightmares. So I'm not even getting to that point. And this reminded me of Misery, which also really fucks with me because that's like a real life like obviously it's such an extreme example of something that could happen. It's good 1 in a million, if not more, chance of actually happening to anybody, like being a kidnapped victim and being forced to stay alive and all this crazy shit for some mentally deficient person. But like it's the thought of it is really what it doesn't.
I'm really amazed that you are so uncomfortable with this movie because I've seen it twice and I really didn't think of it as any more than just a silly horror movie.
And that's
like not even a great horror movie, but like really kind of taking a dumb concept and bringing it to its conclusion.
I think that if I was somebody else would see this, but like something about this specifically gets me, and I don't know what it is. I'd have to actually think about it a little bit more, and I've been trying not to think about the movie. So it's going to take some self-reflection I don't necessarily want to do, but there's something about it that, and I think it's both the kidnapping and the body modification to an extent, and being kept alive against your will or drugged against your will is really, really terrifying to me.
Actually, oddly enough, I watched a movie that has some parallels to this. I watched 10 Cloverfield Lane.
That's another one that scared me because it had they were also getting basically the kept against your will kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Is like that because I guess you can go on.
Yeah, that would probably more. That's really the point that you get is somebody's put in a situation that may have been due to the other person, and the whole idea of being kept against your will
just doesn't really. That's why I said Misery. It just doesn't play well with me at all. Like I can do anything else in horror. Like you go grotesque to like straight up psychological thriller to anything else, but like that one specific niche, which only has a couple movies, just, nope.
What I liked about 10 Cloverfield Lane is I watched the original Cloverfield, and that's clearly just a monster movie. This one, you really, since it is tied to that movie, you don't know if what the captor is talking about is real.
It gives you the idea of like you have there's some sense of believable
you
doubt. You
kind of believe that he thinks that he is saving this person's life.
Yeah.
But
John Goodman that we're talking about,
yeah,
right?
John Goodman's fantastic. Let that guy be in more movies.
I don't think anybody's stopping him.
No.
He's really selective about his roles.
Oh, man.
Michael Parks was actually in another Kevin Smith movie that was before this, and John Goodman was in it, Red State.
Yep.
Which also kind of scared me.
That one was fantastic. I love that one.
The religious aspect of it is... Like, believable stuff taken to an extreme, I think is more scary for me than other things. Like, other people are like demons or dark or whatever, and I'm just like, maybe it's like I don't fucking believe in any of this shit, or like none of this really bothers me because it's ridiculous, but like a real-world example taken to its extreme, or a real-life situation taken to an extreme is just not...
Yeah.
Because it's still in that realm of believability, regardless of how ridiculous it is.
Kevin Smith is a surprisingly serviceable horror director.
I think I would totally love for him to do more with it. I don't know if I could watch it because he seems to tap into that area that I don't like. But I mean, he was really against movie making in a general sense, I think.
I'm sure him and Wes Craven are actually probably really good friends.
I think Wes Craven's dead now.
Well, we're really good friends. Or you may still be friends with him. I don't know.
Don't define the bounds of Kevin Smith and Wes Craven's relationship.
If you
Brian.
died tomorrow, Brian, I wouldn't go the rest of my life like, man, fuck Brian.
Brian and I are not friends anymore.
Like, I am not friends with that fucking
fuck
asshole.
Him.
I would totally say that guy I was friends with until he died.
That's a lot to say. I'd just be like the I don't know. Not that.
I mean, you could also say my dead friend. That's an option.
See, but you're still implying present tense. Then.
People, I think it's like when we were talking about trying to talk about like Hitler or the Holocaust or World War II to an extent of that. Like people hear dead, and I think immediately clench. Like I clenched, and I knew like so. Like you say my dead friend, people are immediately going to like it's got a bit of a pullback factor.
Yeah,
to
I'll
it.
give you that.
So
like, oh, there's a story behind this.
And I don't know if I should ask.
Good failure.
Dead was the modifying adjective in this.
Yeah. Second movie first movie in chronological watching order, but second movie in how we're talking about this because this is stupid.
And also first movie in quantity intaken.
Yes. About 90 minutes. Was The Witch, which also I thought was really cool.
I didn't watch that one.
People, now, I didn't know much about the movie. I know I had read reviews about it that were trying to keep it as spoiler-less as possible.
After the Blair Witch, I won't watch movies with the word witch in it.
You know what? That's a really... That's a good...
Is it
rule
Blair
of
Witch
thumb.
like?
No.
Okay, cool.
It's a period piece. It's about 1650s. And it's basically about this family that sets off on its own away from a settlement because they don't agree with the way that the church or the way that their plantation or whatever is doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So they try and make it out there, and then crazy shit starts happening. But it's not like jump scare or anything like that. It's definitely more like of a slow burn of a horror movie that really has I feel like it has a good payoff in the end, but reasons why, because I had not heard bad things about it, but there's been some backlash as it was coming out because it was a Sundance film originally, because people expected like Paranormal Activity, demon type shit, like really.
Everybody's surprised when they put production quality into horror movies these days.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of like jump scares or payoffs or anything like that in that sense. It's definitely more. It's a different genre of horror than what people are used to seeing. It's
more
big
psychological
theaters.
as opposed to just.
Yeah, so I liked it. Yeah, essentially, but there's more. It leaves you thinking, which I appreciated.
Sure.
So that's one that I would definitely recommend for people as well if they haven't seen it. The less expectations that you have out of it, the better. Not saying it's one that is.
I really think that it's best to go into the horror genre with no expectations.
Yes. Blank mind. We'll see whatever we see.
Just because we are in a new age of low budget horror films. So, I mean, if you have high expectations on what the visuals are going to be or what the story is going to be, I feel like you're going to end up very disappointed in this day and age. So, I mean, like going into Split with no expectations, just being like, I've heard good things, but it's still a Shyamalan movie.
It's another one that I wasn't going to do. Split, because it involves kidnap.
Okay.
And then I was just like, I saw it and I was like, nope. This is one that I know is not gonna play with me. So.
Yeah. I think that we found out why you don't like Tusk. I'm glad that we could break this down.
Yeah, that was it was very informative. I feel like I know you better after that.
Don't kidnap me. Don't kidnap me and then cut off my leg and make me into a walrus, because I will die before you're able to really fulfill the plan from a heart attack.
That must be fun at parties.
I don't know, am I? I don't remember, Brandon.
I barely do.
Thackeray is the worst person at bondage.
Not wrong.
Maybe worst in like the sense of best, or like
No, like worst as in the sense of like way more screaming of safe words than way sooner than you would need it to.
Almost immediately, if not before the actual act.
Thackeray is the kind of person that sees a blindfold and then leaves.
This reminds me of a ball gag. Like, it's an apple. I'm like, it's the same thing. I'm leaving now.
It's like a ball gag for pork.
What if we kidnap you and put you in a pig costume and then put an apple in your mouth, but the apple has a strap on it?
No, not.
Is that different
Wait.
enough?
Is that a strap-on it or just a strap on it?
I mean, he'd look more like a unicorn or a rhino or something if it had a strap on the strapped-on apple. That's like a...
Thackeray looks so not happy right now.
That's because it's one of those things like, I'm going to hate that, and then you do it and you're like,
It was
cool.
fine.
I mean, I could, if I had not done that, I may have been doing nothing, and maybe that would have been worse.
Right, it's called new experiences, Thackeray.
Yeah.
They're good for you.
The word experience is key here.
I want to have good experiences, but this
All you have to do is try it once, and then you can tell the world, like, hey, I'm experienced in this.
I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
You say that like you've got something in your ass.
I feel fine.
My ass is
Clenched. Yet malleable.
Yes, it was taut and malleable anus.
You have a pliable ass?
A pliable asshole.
So, Brian, have you had a chance to watch any more Man in the High Castle?
No,
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I started...
What have you been watching?
My Brother, and Me came out on CISO.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
No,
Is that the sequel to the Nickelodeon sitcom My Brother and Me?
there is, by the way, a sequel, and that's also available on Amazon.
Wait. There's a sequel to My Brother and Me?
No.
Damn.
Just opened up about 4 threads here.
No. My Brother and Me is a podcast, and CISO gave the McElroy brothers, who are the 3 brothers in My Brother and Me, a show. It ran for 6 episodes so far. Very funny. If you listen to the No, it's almost like a question and answer, but like they take one question and then they go through the lengths to answer it in the most ridiculous way possible.
Oh, okay.
So like there's a question where one of the episodes they're asked how to pad a resume. So they go through and do as many jobs as they can as poorly as possible in as short of a period of time as they can. All for the sake of padding their own resumes and see if they can succeed in a job interview with a former employer of one of the brothers who had fired him before.
Oh, Jesus.
That's intriguing.
Who happened to be the father-in-law of one of the brothers.
This is really stressful.
If you like the podcast, or if you're familiar with the podcast, either My Brother and Me, or The Adventure Zone, anything along those lines, you'll enjoy it. It's super fun, and it's a good enough reason to subscribe to CISO for
I feel like
at least a
that
week.
guy doing the interview would have to be sitting there and thinking, like, you remind me of this guy, this, like, fucking asshole that I fired, and this fucking asshole that fucks my daughter that I can't fire.
That I can't fire.
Like, why do you seem so familiar to me?
How many jobs did they go through? How easily is it to get fired? Because I feel like it's fairly
It's
difficult
pretty
in
easy to
some.
get fired.
Really?
I mean, on day one, it's pretty easy to get fired.
You think so?
Yeah.
I guess
But, like, they go into
if
these
your
jobs
intention
saying...
is trying to get fired, then it can't be that difficult.
Well, no, they go into these jobs saying that they're only there for a very, very, very short period of time and that their express purpose is to pad a resume. The resolution to the question is, if you have a film crew with you, it's really easy to pad a resume. Or at least have the confidence of a person with a film crew, it's very easy.
You could walk around and have your friends be your film crew, but not film anything, and I imagine get past a lot of barriers and or red tape and things.
I guess that just depends on the girl.
Boon mics, everybody.
Here with the cameras and my friend the boom.
Makes me uncomfortable. Every time I hear the word record.
I get anxious. It's like, what do you mean when you say record?
Like, I don't know what the fuck we mean, James. Asshole.
I like how you saw that documentary and it changed your life in a small way. That's all I could hope for after that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I also have a friend who loaned me Preacher season 1, so I'm through like the first 4 episodes. I'm trying to burn through that so that I can give it back to my friend,
yeah.
and then I can burn through Man in High Castle.
What is Preacher?
Preacher is based off the Vertigo comic book by, I want to say, Garth Ennis, about a preacher.
Did
a Texas preacher and like crazy shit happens. Paranormal kind of things.
Did Vision do a movie about that?
No.
No?
No, you're thinking Priest.
Priest, okay.
Which stars Paul Bettany.
Yeah,
Who
Vision.
fights... yeah, you're right.
It's like Jack Nicholson when he was the Joker, but he put the makeup on. That's like him.
That's all that he is now.
Yeah.
And that one, I think, is about fighting vampires. This one has a vampire, but he seems, if not friendly, then at least kind of apathetic towards the situations that are going on around him.
So he's you.
Yeah.
You're the vampire.
Yeah.
Are you a vampire?
No.
I don't think a vampire would say that they'd be a vampire.
No.
Well, if this was an interview, I'm sure he would.
No.
Am I the only person in this room that actually liked that movie?
Which
No.
Interview with a Vampire?
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoy it still. It's not something I'm going to be like, go home and be like, man,
Because
I'm gonna watch this movie.
Every time I think of young Kirsten Dunst, I get creeped out by that. She creeped me the fuck out in that movie for some reason.
Are you creeped out by older Kirsten Dunst for the same reason? Or is it the teeth?
Her teeth don't really bother me that much. And, I mean, I'm alright with that for reasons, but...
I actually think Tom Cruise is fairly charismatic in that movie, and I don't find him charismatic in most roles.
I think there's just something...
Whereas Brad Pitt, I feel, it has fairly little charisma in that role.
He's
which
very
is
subdued in that role.
Considering they generally tend to be switched. Like,
I don't know if it's because that was like his first role, or if it's because...
He's fairly early in his acting career there.
But he definitely... Like, I don't know if it was how the character was specifically written, because I haven't read the book.
Right. There is a series It follows Tom Cruise's character.
Yeah.
Queen of the Damned is actually in that thing, but I would have really have liked for them to do a...
Was there a third movie? Or did they only manage to do 2 of them?
No, I'm almost positive there was a third movie.
I don't think that they're linked. I think that they made them, but they weren't supposed to be
like same
linked.
universe, but...
Is it? I didn't even think...
I mean, they kind of have
Queen
to
of
be...
the Damned thing. Like, it's the same character, technically, but it's like Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, it's the same thing, but it's not really.
Kind of. I guess
Or it's
we
like
don't
different
really have
takes
a
on the
way of
same-
knowing unless we look for clues in The Queen of the Damned, and I'm not going to watch that movie again.
No.
Okay. Apparently it's made, or it's by the Vampire Chronicles.
Yes, that's what it's called.
I'm trying
I
to
can't
see
remember the
what
name of the
movies.
chick that wrote it. It's escaping me right
Stephanie Meyer.
now. No.
Who wrote 50 Shades of Grey?
Stieg Larsson?
J.K. Rowling. Am I getting closer?
I think we just shit on the last decade pretty hard right there. That was great. That felt good.
Who wrote that shitty Divergent series?
They only made 2.
They only made 2, so Queen of the Damned and Interview with a Vampire?
Yeah.
It's the same character, though, I'm assuming, right? Or yeah, it's the same.
Lestat.
Yes! I don't know why. That was a really weird thing for you to know off the top of your head.
You're welcome.
Not really.
No, he's autistic.
All right.
No, don't just, agree with... Fuck you.
If I'm autistic, I'm like one of those autistic people that needs fucking earmuffs and shit, and I can just be like,
Kinda.
Rocking
You're
back
sitting
and
there with your
forth.
Valium in your hand. Just chilling.
oh, my phone's in my hand.
It's like the
Valium's in my
worst
mouth.
thing.
Valium's under your sack, which is where it needs to be.
If I'm going to take it intravenously, I figure I should put it the place with most blood.
If you, move your legs enough, back and forth, maybe eventually it'll find its way into your asshole.
Or
It's a
worst case
suppository.
scenario,
Yeah,
worst case scenario, I just have an erection, and I'm happy about that too.
Don't turn anything into a suppository. Anything. Literally anything.
Are you trying to stick something in my ass?
I'm trying not to not stick something in your ass.
All right, I'll take that challenge.
Cancel out.
Brian's gonna be over there just standing perfectly still, trying to be a mannequin. I don't want to participate in that challenge.
If a T-Rex comes in here, it definitely will not see me. I know that for sure. I watched the first Jurassic Park.
You just reminded me again of how bad I want to see Kong Skull Island.
John Goodman's in it, and I've subscribed to the
Pro John Goodman. Watch more John Goodman.
yeah, anything. Just John Goodman's in it. You know what? Here, I'll watch it.
Wait, wasn't he in a Flintstones movie though?
Yep.
So I mean, you
I watched
The
watch
good one, not the shitty one.
I watched
the
both.
second one was awful.
Yeah.
Both of those.
It was
bad.
The first one was actually pretty good.
John
The
Goodman
first
and
one was
Stephen
pretty-
Baldwin.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephen Baldwin was Barney Rubble.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I watched that several months ago, 6-7 months ago, and just got really fucked up. And I was like, I'm gonna watch a movie, and I was like, watch the Flintstones movie. This will be a fun
Rosie
adventure.
O'Donnell.
Yep.
Is,
Yeah.
Barney Rubble's wife.
Yeah.
Fuck. Who's Wilma? Wilma was somebody of note, right?
Is it Gina Davis?
You know what? That doesn't sound like the worst idea. I'm not really sure.
So anyway, Preacher, the first episode has...
No, it was Elizabeth Perkins.
I'm on episode 4, and I'm thinking that it might be the literal voice of God.
Okay.
Because he can now just control people.
So it's Val Kilmer.
I don't know. It's hard to describe, but I mean, it's a super cool show.
Do you not know what Val Kilmer sounds like?
No, I know what he sounds like.
Okay.
I've heard him before.
So you would know.
Stephen Baldwin was in the shitty sequel. It was Rick Moranis.
That's what I thought it was. That's why you looked at me, and I was like, I looked at you, and I was like, I don't remember
Got the
Stephen
movies
Baldwin's
both mixed
slanty
up.
eyes being on Barney Rubble. Weird.
Yeah, Mel Blanc was in it too, and Jay Leno.
Jay Leno played himself, didn't he? He played a BC Bedrock version.
Halle
of himself.
Berry was in it.
Yeah.
Halle Berry was the sexy nurse.
And
or sexy
Elizabeth
secretary or something
Perkins
like that.
played Wilma Flintstones. She was also in Big.
Which was a delightful movie about coming of age in the most anti-Benjamin Button of ways.
She fucked that kid. It was a man then, but that was a kid.
And the whole state of Pennsylvania is not going on about that shit.
So I watched. Okay, Nina had never seen Big, and she really had a fairly sheltered childhood. So I showed her a lot of things as our relationship expanded into
Blossomed.
something. Yeah, essentially. And Big was one of the things that I was like, this is a movie that I watched with my dad, so it's important to me. And then we were watching it, and she was like, she's gonna fuck that kid, and I was like, yeah, I don't remember that part. and then it happened, and I was like, oh yeah, she definitely fucked that kid.
Yeah.
As a guy, but that is a kid brain that she Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something really that you really have to.
Yeah, that's like
confront.
a regular Tom Hanks penis, but that's definitely a child brain.
Oh man.
I mean, Leon the Professional is also a movie, but nobody's talking about that.
That one was rated R, though. Big was PG.
Yeah.
There's something about these movies that creep me out, and actresses' first roles. Like, that was Natalie Portman's first role in that movie.
Yeah. Super creepy.
Yeah.
She is fairly sexualized in that.
No
Very
shit.
highly sexual. That's the point. It should have been called The Professional and The Amateur.
And the young prostitute.
Like, I watched it, and it's been a couple years, and that's being conservative, but I watched it, and I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
no.
Wait, if she was a prostitute, does that make The Amateur the professional?
Yes. It's the world's oldest
Because I was going to say,
profession.
she's the one, between the two of them, she's the one with the legitimate career. Like, if you think of it like that, you can tell that Brian's lived his entire life in the South. He's like, there's nothing legitimate about that. I'm not running for office. You're not sliding that shit past me.
I mean, neither of them pay taxes, so...
That's true. Neither of them do pay taxes. Unless they're in
The
Nevada.
pimp is
then one of
definitely
them pays
taxing that
taxes.
ass.
Who was the pimp in that situation? Was it Gary Oldman?
Probably.
Gary Oldman. Regular Gary Oldman. Or fairly regular Gary Oldman in that movie as well.
Gary Youngman?
Just Gary not makeup.
Okay.
To the point where I know that Gary Oldman's British, and I still don't know that he's British.
Yeah.
I just don't know what I think Gary Oldman looks like, but I've seen him in what I assume is a normal enough look to think I know what he looks like, but I still am
Fifth
not
Element, right? It's the Fifth Element.
I was hoping it was going to be Die Hard coming from you, and The Fifth Element would make more sense coming from maybe him, maybe me, I'm not sure.
It's gonna go...
Whenever I think Gary Oldman, Fifth Element is the first movie that goes through my mind.
It's either that or normal Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he's like got his like
Jacked.
locks going down, and he's wearing like the nice like suit, and he's like stalking.
I like how
fucking...
in that movie Keanu Reeves was still high from like his previous roles. It's like, come on, man.
They were like, this isn't another Bill and Ted movie, but he's like, whoa, there's fucking vampires and shit.
I'm in an orgy.
It's like, all right, we have to go slay Dracula. I'm still trying to slay 3 blunts.
Wild stallions. Where's Carlin? He's in the future, jackass.
I don't know how this suit got on me.
God.
I had to read that in my senior year of high school.
Bill and Ted?
Yes. The second one, though, not the first one. I don't know why we did that one, but Dracula.
That's weird. That's weird that you would do the one with death. Just in bad face paint.
You know, Keanu Reeves is one of those actors who because I grew up with his career, because I was a child when he was really acting, and
As opposed to what?
well, like if
Lizard person.
Well, no, like if he had been a child and he didn't start acting until I was an adult, or if he had been acting like years before I was born or something, like as I grew up, he was making movies.
Sure.
And you know, even as a kid, like
Point Break.
I wasn't sure about him. Like I was never
I love
really
that
sure.
Fast
Like
and the Furious movie.
Like I loved
It's the best.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's one of my favorite movies to this day.
It's fantastic. And, I mean, it's really, really easy to make fun of it because the casting choices are kind of odd.
Winona Ryder's bouncing titties. That's one of my childhood memories.
But, I mean, as an adaptation...
Sir Anthony Hopkins, man.
Killing it.
As an adaptation for a classic literary piece, it's pretty on. It's pretty on the nose.
It's very accurate. Like what a lot of people imagine as Dracula often isn't accurate. But watching that, since it was based, like if there had been pictures in Bram Stoker's actual Dracula novel, like that movie would have been like shot for shot of that book. It's that accurate.
I think that the only thing that it really adds is the origin story of the Dracula going back to like Vlad Tepes and stuff like that, because I don't recall that being in the book.
No. They also did that
The book
movie.
is so wordy that I couldn't tell you if
It is a
was
good
or
book,
not.
though.
Yeah.
It is a really good book. It makes me sad that I grew up where I did, because I know that there are some places in the country that in high school, like AP English classes, Bram Stoker's Dracula is on the reading lists.
I read it in high school.
Yeah,
For high school.
It was not on the reading list here in Kentucky.
I went and saw it, and then I went and saw a play in Louisville, which was actually really cool. It was like like a Coliseum type thing where you look down actually because it was 360 degrees and everything happened in the middle and in the stands actually. So it was actually a really interesting way. Instead of sitting and watching it forward, it was actually like a 360 degree experience.
It's one of the movies that's based off it's been used with Universal's classic horror characters, but I don't really think of the classic Dracula when I think of Dracula film adaptations. I tend to think of that one as opposed to like Frankenstein. I think of the classic instead of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which was starring Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
which is a better film adaptation when it comes to making sense of the book. But it just doesn't really.
I can't say I've seen that one.
It's pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
I mean,
based on what you're saying, I think.
I think a movie a lot of people haven't seen that.
For some reason, whenever I think of Frankenstein movies, I think of I, Frankenstein starring... No, I'm kidding. It's definitely the original portion as well.
Have either of you seen Dracula Untold?
No, not yet. I've been meaning to.
That movie is 100% the Dracula origin.
Right.
Talking about
it's just Vlad Tepes slash
his life, his marriage,
fantasy.
her death, and his rise to just this like violent, murderous prince.
Mm-hmm.
All the way.
Parts of it.
It's actually a really good movie. I thought it was going to be one of those shitty, like, they threw this out, like, in, early June, saying, hey, maybe we'll make some money off of it kind of thing. It was actually a really good movie.
I've heard it's surprisingly good, and that the worst part about it is that there may have been recuts going into the end of it that are supposed to, like, bring together a grand unified world of Universal movie monsters.
Yeah, not a good idea.
They did.
And then I think they canned that idea
because
because
there was a Frankenstein reference, I think it was, at the end.
Yeah. And I mean, they had done the Wolfman movie, I think, or like a year or two before that with Benicio del Toro, and that one tanked.
Which is a shame because you'd think a Del Toro movie would...
You know what?
Del Toro is surprisingly hit or miss.
I know, but like at least I feel like his acting is always...
Yeah, his acting is
always
usually
on point.
spot on. It's just...
I saw The Wolfman. I wasn't... I thought I enjoyed it.
It didn't do well. It didn't...
I can't
perform well.
imagine it did well, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's my own. I saw Sicario or something along those.
Sicario.
Yeah, and he's in that. That really captivated me. Got Emily Blunt and the guy from No Country for Old Men, not Anton. It's not Tommy Lee Jones. Brolin. Yeah, it's got him in it.
He's great.
Brolin's in a lot of good stuff too.
Brolin's a really good actor.
And I feel like Brolin's movies, like you're saying with Benicio's movies, tend to be hit or miss, but I feel like he always puts in a pretty
he's
good
always great in
performance.
them.
Like, Benicio was in Guardians of the Galaxy and completely... I mean, granted, the movie's fantastic all the way through, but he's definitely a bright spot.
It's funny because we're going to see both of them in 2 movies together.
Shit.
Yeah,
that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
And Collector.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck, that's crazy. I didn't even put that together.
Surprisingly soon.
I don't think that I've seen a Josh Brolin movie that I didn't like. Like W, that was a really good movie.
I mean,
Men in Black 3 would be
Oliver
on
Stone
the
is
movie.
shit.
I like Men in Black 3 a lot, too.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
skipped
okay.
It's
It's better than 2,
That's fair.
but nothing is as good as Men in Black 1.
It was a fun kind of an origin story. Again. Brolin's character, Josh Brolin is a really good actor. I mean, that goes without saying. So he was playing Tommy Lee Jones playing his character in that movie. Like, he was basically just being the young version of him. It was great. Like, the mannerisms and everything, like, I felt like he totally nailed it. W was really good for a lot of reasons because it was a biopic.
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, Oliver Stone. I mean, great director.
Did he talk about how Bush did 9/11?
They didn't get to that part.
Huh.
No, I thought they were going to do a sequel.
Early.
Yeah, thought they were going to do a sequel to that.
Whole
but I
movie
guess they
about
never got
about
around
it
to
one
It's the
year.
beginning.
Yeah.
No, and of course...
That's literally 8 months in.
And then, of course, No Country for Old Men, which also had Josh
Tommy Lee
Brolin and
Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones in it. Who were... that movie's great, of course, because all 3 of those characters are kind of like a triumvirate foil. Like, they all kind of foil each other in terms of their motivations, their personalities, and everything. Where, Josh Brolin is this kind of, like, chaotic personality, just like, he sees the money, he takes the money, like, he's impulsive.
Whereas Javier Bardem
Is this very ordered structure.
Virtue.
Yeah.
Like, twisted virtue.
And then you got Tommy Lee Jones' character, who's more, like, outside of it, he's an observer.
He's just he is the role of the viewer.
I've never really thought about it before until this moment, but I kind of feel like those characters in that movie are like Freud's, ego, superego, and id. Like the different facets of the human psyche
That would make
for
sense.
like desires and drives and motivations and things like that.
He's the closest thing to a true neutral or a moral center you're going to get in that movie.
Yeah, and
Tommy Lee Jones's character, obviously.
Yeah.
Marshal or sheriff or whatever he happens to be, local law enforcement.
Yeah.
his scenes don't really add much to the movie other than like giving perspective, which I thought was really cool. Because every one of his scenes, while they do touch on like facets of the story, more give you just like a frame of reference for the reality of the situation.
I mean, he is the main character of the movie, despite not being the driving force of the movie.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never thought about it like that.
What?
That he's the main character.
He is.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's clearly not the main character.
No.
There's no way that he can be.
Chigurh is not the main character either.
No, he's definitely the antagonist, but he's not the main character.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that via process of elimination, you were...
I mean, Josh Brolin's character, if anything, is more of a MacGuffin in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the vehicle that drives the plot forward.
Yep.
Define MacGuffin. Is that a
Vehicle
bird?
that... Yes, it's
Yeah.
a bird.
McPuffin?
It's literally just a thing for the story to chase, like a goal, like an object, like something.
Cosmic Cube is a MacGuffin. Pretty much whenever you see like some weird thing just kind of put in a movie, it really doesn't serve any real purpose other than to...
Plot device?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Plot device.
Yeah.
I got you.
Because I mean, even Woody Harrelson was in that movie. I mean, in a way, I feel like he was. I wouldn't say more important than Josh Brolin's character, but he was
Almost
more like
equal to the narrative.
Yeah, he was. It's weird because he was one of those characters that was put in that seemed to have so much gravitas to him for such a short time in the movie. Like he
Maybe
was
had
there.
15-minute screen time.
Yeah.
That might be overshooting what he had anyway. Like,
But
that's...
in a weird way, you cared about him. Maybe that's just because it's Woody Harrelson. I really like Woody Harrelson. I see him in a movie, and I'm like,
I'm going to watch this movie.
Yeah, I'm attached to him at that moment. But Josh
Kingpin.
Brolin, who did a really good, should have died, but didn't. But Josh Brolin's character was you were never going to like him.
No.
He was a completely unlikable character. He was an unlikable human being. I mean,
Josh Brolin's character serves the purpose of making you think that he's the main character of the movie until you realize that he's not.
he's more of a, like, what's the word I'm looking for on this?
Shitlord.
He's more of an analysis of the human condition.
Yeah.
Like, he himself is the conflict.
Yeah. He claims to have noble goals, but clearly it's not really about that.
Yeah, he's selfish. Everything's pretty much about him.
Well, because he could have given it up at any point. Like, I mean, not given it up. Chigurh was going to kill him because of the like Woody Harrelson said, because of the inconvenience that he put up. But he could have believed that if he didn't want to do this anymore, could have given the money back or thrown the money away and just left.
Yeah.
And Chigurh would have been like, "Fuck," essentially. He probably would have killed him.
He was still gonna
tracked him
kill him.
down. He would have tracked him
He
down
was
and killed
100%
him.
gonna kill him.
But it's the
Right.
fact that he didn't want to, I guess, is the...
Chigurh is clearly lawful evil. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has rules. He abides by those rules, period. He does not go off script.
Javier Bardem's a really good actor.
No,
He's
it's
very
fantastic.
good. Yes, I love
Like,
Javier Bardem.
he's a good part of the reason why I really like Skyfall.
We're in a great age for film right now. Film and TV.
Which is, I was going to say, it is a great age for film, but TV has hit like this golden age like never before.
Yeah, TV is at the golden age now.
I think it's also, TV itself is an ambiguous term. Because it's not
that's
cable
true.
or network so much. I mean, you get like HBO, obviously, and Showtime has some, programming, and like AMC.
You have a lot of
obviously.
really good shows that have gone on for really a long amount of time, and there's shows that have wrapped, like Breaking Bad, that people think are really good. And you have Netflix that you can count as TV.
Yes,
Right,
well,
I mean, I was talking about this the other day with a friend of mine, that in no world can you not count Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix as networks.
yeah, they absolutely are.
At
I
this
would-
point, it's an injustice not to.
I would honestly argue that, at least for people of our generation, those are the big three.
And they're far superior because they don't force us into time slots.
Well, if there's somebody that I'm going to go and search for, I'm going to go to Netflix or Amazon at this point and look for stuff instead of trying to flip channels and see what I want to watch at this specific time, because that involves me. Like, it's the on-demand now type of thing that really...
Exactly.
And Amazon's really changed my perspective on them. Like, before it was always Netflix first option. Like, I'm going to go to Netflix, I'm going to see what the fuck is up on Netflix, and then if I didn't see anything I wanted or didn't find what I was looking, like, then I'd hop over to Amazon and be like, well, I'll try out over here, make sure I don't have to pay for whatever I'm trying to see. And then, you know, last resort would always be Hulu, because it's like 98% TV shows.
Hulu is network show. Whereas Hulu is the last remnants of... I would honestly call it the evolution of network television.
Yeah, since the actual networks even have their television shows on there.
Well, Hulu is partly owned by the big three.
Yeah.
So Hulu's model is, or for original programming, tends to be that they get stuff from the big three, who they weren't going to put it on the air. That's how, or what's it called? Mindy Project, for example, is a show that the networks dropped, and we're like, this still has life. It's just, it doesn't have life on our network. So they bounced it over to that.
How do they make that distinction?
Because not enough people are watching it to justify paying to the point where advertisers aren't going to cash in on it. Yeah. But it still has story to tell, and there's still people watching it. Just that. Yeah. The big your big networks are still controlled by advertising dollars.
Yeah, no, I mean when you put it that way, it's obvious that they're motivated by the money that they're going to get by the advertisers wanting to put stuff in that time slot, because those shows are stuff that people want to see.
And that's why Hulu makes it impossible to ignore the fact that they're owned by the big three networks.
Goddamn ads.
You pay for your subscription, and the ads are worse than they are on TV.
I really do think they are. They're way more intrusive.
You get like 6 45-second commercials in a row.
Depends on the kind of show that you're watching, but we watched a lot of Grey's on Hulu at one point, and because it's an hour-long show, or an hour-long show in a time slot, so it's only like 45 minutes, if that, 42.
Yeah, you get 5 3-minute commercial breaks.
You get a lot of commercials. Very, very
I don't know, I watch a lot of Hulu, and honestly, the commercials never really bothered me that much, but to be more... the question is, how often do you guys watch regular TV?
Never.
That's
Almost
why.
Never.
Honestly, that's why. And this is kind
I've grown out of it. Other than football, I'm probably... It got to the point during football season that I would turn on my TV, and I had my DirecTV box, and it would still be on Fox from last Sunday, and I'd be like, good, I don't even have to change the fucking channel.
You're right.
I'm telling you, as somebody who goes to my dad's house and like I'll watch TV there, like if I'm house sitting or something like that, watch regular broadcast television, like live, and you'll realize that Hulu ain't shit when it comes to commercials.
Are we being bitch-ass millennials? Is that what we're doing right now?
No, I mean, we grew up with
don't get me wrong.
Television. It's just we've adapted to a different format now, so I guess that might be why. And the weird thing is, because we watch...
Right, we're like, looking at... We perceive that if you're going to pay for something, or that you shouldn't have to deal with commercials, but the reality is that we've been paying for cable forever, and there's always been commercials. It's just we are now used to the new normal of Netflix, Amazon, HBO Go, stuff like that, where there are zero, and you know exactly where your money is going to. Before it was you paid for a cable package, and you're throwing money at every possible network, so you figure everybody gets so little of a cut that they're going to have ads. But also look at it this way, of the major streaming channels, I'm pretty sure that Hulu is the cheapest.
And it's like $8?
Pretty sure it's still $8.
See, the thing with me, like, a lot of people complain about the NFL games having too many commercials and stuff, but I think the reason that, like, Hulu's commercials bother me so much, and I'm not one of the people that complains about NFL commercials, is because the commercial breaks in the NFL games are shorter breaks. And that's the difference. Like, if you, like 3 minutes in a row of like a drama, you're watching a drama in 3 minutes of commercials, it really deflates the pacing for me.
Right.
NFL games, like, 30-second timeout, like, cool, I got just enough time to go piss, come back and the game's on. Thackeray disagrees, but it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people.
As not a football fan, the commercials on football games are just so stressful. Because it's like every minute and a half you have like a minute break.
Yes, it's bad.
Oh, well, I mean, in Patriots games.
It's bad. It really is bad. And they have to create stoppages. And what's bad is that they have to create stoppages in the games.
Yeah, they actually have TV timeouts.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, if you're at a game, and I've now been to 3 games live, and it's not as bad at there because you got, like, stuff to do, and, like, you see the players of the game, and, like, there's usually announcements unless you're at a Bengals game, because fuck them.
Do they still have those, like, little games where, like, for whatever product, and they'll have, like, a foot race or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's more baseball, but yeah, they have shit like that. So like halftime and stuff like that. But yeah, no, they have to force the timeouts and they have to force the stoppages of play, which does come into the gamesmanship and like the flow of the game, which I'm not against. Plus, I feel like as a football fan, since I've been watching pretty heavily in the early 2000s, it's gotten worse. And I mean, I was fairly young then, so I don't really have a great like ability to go back and like check, but I really feel like it's gotten worse.
One thing I've learned to appreciate when watching games is the fact that like if there are injury timeouts or if they use like actual timeouts fairly early in the game, second half of the game will have way less interruptions. Like
but my point is that if you don't do that, they purposely interrupt the game. They're just like, we're going to stop it now. Like the refs will just like flag it down. Whereas like other stuff like what's it called? Like basketball, for example, flows a lot better because there are stoppages within the bounds of the game. So you're going to get those timeouts regardless.
Right.
But like hockey, generally no stoppages unless you have like an icing or like
you have enough like icing.
There's stoppages
calls
of plays to get that. And soccer's on the complete other end where there's no stoppages, which is why they have the ads
on their jerseys.
So they can have no interruptions because people care about that kind of shit.
I think that's one of the things that made me over time appreciate soccer more and more. Like I didn't like it as a teenager in early 20s. I didn't really like it, but as I've gotten as I've gotten through my 20s and hit 30 and everything, soccer's a lot more enjoyable to watch because even though there's
I like watching ice soccer. There's more hitting.
Well,
it's about the same in terms of like,
soccer players would like you to think that there's a lot of hitting.
No, I watch the ice soccer. There's definitely more hitting.
Yeah.
There's fake hitting in grass soccer.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Ladies soccer, on the other hand, just as bad as ice soccer.
Just reminded me, I think we saw a flop in the Super Bowl this year.
That Julian Edelman catch?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, that was them trying to give the game to the Falcons, and they're like, you know what? We can't. Like, this can't.
That catch was proof to me that if there is a God, he's definitely Catholic. He was all about some Boston winning that game.
Boston Marathon.
Okay,
Boston
so he may not go to all sporting events. Clearly, Allah was at that one. What? Too soon? Really? Get the fuck out of here.
Putin got him for us, though, right?
Yeah.
Is that not why he did it? That's why I thought he did it.
Interesting thing I read this week. We've been doing it about not talking politics, but one thing I want to
shut up, Brandon. You're fake news.
One thing I thought was really interesting was, and this is probably more conspiracy than fact. I haven't seen a whole lot to support it yet.
Brandon's conspiracy theory segment.
British officials are now kind of like suggesting that Russia may have actually influenced the Brexit vote too. Which, not outside of the realm of possibility. We were talking about this earlier today, about how, like, the world just kind of was so caught up in the Middle East, they just ignored Russia, and Russia was, like, over there, like, can I really just reach into the cookie jar and take the cookie? Like, nobody's going to look, like...
I mean, they've been pushing boundaries every so often, just trying to see what they could get away with. And
Georgia.
Yeah.
They basically were just like, hey, this is ours now. And everybody else was like, all right, just don't take any more. Poland.
NATO's over there like, hey, stop that. And they look at the United States like, you can do something. Like that friend that's like, yeah, fuck you, man. And like the big friend's over there hitting on a chick at the bar, and they're like,
shit.
Yeah.
You didn't see it. We got to get him to see it next time, and maybe he'll do something.
Yeah. It's like, hey, there's oil in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
This guy's like, oil? Where?
Oh, man.
Oil?
A suitcase full of money.
Alex Jones there's officially been lawsuits filed because of Pizzagate.
Who's Alex Jones?
Alex Jones is a crazy person who believes in literal lizard people. and is also the head of InfoWars, which is a far right.
How many people believe in lizard people?
Alex Jones.
There's a lot of people. I've read up on...
Because this is not the first time we've had a discussion about people believing
It's mostly Alex Jones that I'm talking about. This is the first time that I've explicitly mentioned his name.
I've read conspiracy theories about lizard people since the 90s.
Yeah, that's been going on forever.
They're really, really... I mean, like, from a logical standpoint, I mean, obviously, it's conspiracy theory, but, like, from a logical standpoint, it's one of the ones that really just doesn't make sense from an evolutionary standpoint.
Yeah, we came from fish.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Which, I mean, the lizards did, too.
It's just true.
But, I mean, it's just, it's you know, basically the lizard... Do you know the lizard people conspiracy?
No,
there's a species of lizard people.
I don't frequent Reddit, and when I do, I send you guys the subreddits that I go to.
They literally control everything.
They live under the surface of the earth,
Okay.
but they also can, like, shapeshift to look like humans. And
Was this like the crab people thing that South Park did?
That's
but it was,
exactly what that
it's
is.
okay. So I know about this.
Yeah.
Except they're crab people.
Right.
Now,
They look like
People. Crab.
Look like people, taste like crab.
the hardest thing for me to believe about that conspiracy, honestly, is the shapeshifting.
I'm fine with underground people, but let's call them mole people what they really are.
Obviously, because if there really are lizard people, then their doctors have to be lizard people, because a regular person doctor would be like, hey, you
This
are
is
not
a
a
lizard
warm-blooded
people.
person.
Yeah.
There are reasons, like, have you ever seen an American politician in Antarctica? No, because it's too cold there for lizards. Or some bullshit like that.
You would really have to question the extensiveness of their shapeshifting.
That's
because is it just surface shapeshifting, or do they shapeshift and match the organs and structure of humans once they shapeshift?
Well, if they were going to do that, why wouldn't they just stay human?
Because they can't, I guess. I don't know. I'm not making a fucking conspiracy theories. I would imagine that they can't because some sort of drain on their energy or something along those lines.
And also, if there really are lizard people, then they're the real heroes.
It takes a lot of batteries, AA batteries, to work the shapeshifter mabobber, which is why they have to come up to the surface and buy shit in bulk at Best Buy.
We have to stop soon before my head, or before my eyeballs detach from rolling into the back of my head so fucking hard.
Man, that would probably really hurt your...
It does.
If you can explain your orgasm just a little bit more slowly next time, I might also be able to get off.
You also need to take your shirt off and draw pictures of it while you describe it.
Anyway, Alex Jones is being sued for slander because of Pizzagate. That was all that I had to say.
It's only slander if it's not true.
Crab people. Crab people.
I watched Sausage Party yesterday. It's
on Netflix.
It's dumb. It's fun, but it's dumb.
I refuse.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was like, Sausage Party, and then it was 3.5 stars on Netflix, and I was like, another thing! I'm gonna watch Sunny again!
Here's what I want you to do. Think of what the jokes in that movie are.
Uh-huh.
You have it done.
It's probably a lot of dick jokes, because hot dogs and
Yeah.
phallus.
The antagonist is a douche.
Like a...
Yeah, like a literal douche.
Okay.
Played by Nick Kroll, which I like because Nick Kroll played the douche in Parks and Rec.
I think Nick Kroll might be a douche.
He might be, but he's a self-aware douche. And
if you're going to be a douche,
that.
that's probably the best kind to be.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty...
And on top of that, he's funny, so fuck it.
Uh,
I think so.
you think a lot of things. You don't believe in lizard people. Who the fuck do you know? We still managed to get through one more podcast without talking about this at the XFL. I'm really angry. I'm not visibly angry, but it's boiling.
I mean, we still don't get to talk about the man in the high castle, which is making me very sad because there's so much I want to say, and I don't want to spoil it for Brian because it's
How do you think I
too
felt?
good.
Well,
You've finally gotten to a point where I can start to talk about it with you again, and that's nice. Patagonia exists.
do I remember my joke?
He learned about Patagonia today.
That's exciting.
What
What's
did
in
you learn
Patagonia?
Apparently Germans.
Huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Huh.
So we were talking, and
I was talking. I learned about Eichmann, who was Heydrich's like second in command, and he was the one that really started like rolling out the final solution type shit. Once Heydrich died in Prague, I want to say in 1941, he was the one who took control of a lot of it. But he was caught in the 1960s in I don't want to say Argentina, somewhere in Latin America. And that really surprised me. And then I remember that Brandon was talking about, like, the boys in...
the boys of Brazil.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, this might actually be real.
Yeah, I was talking to him about it today.
But then he started
because-
going on his conspiracy theories.
Well, no, like, okay, so when my grandmother was a child, I'm going to throw the story in real quick. You know, my great-grandfather was in the SS. My grandmother grew up in Bavaria during World War II. And one of the things that her father told her, as a young girl, this is way before movies and TV and everything, told her that Hitler he didn't actually commit suicide in Berlin. He escaped Berlin with a lot of high-ranking Nazi officials to Argentina. A story my grandmother carried with her whole life. And then, obviously, over the decades, you had stories. Obviously, the Nazi high command had lots of officers.
From time to time.
You know, they actually had officers that went to South America. The German population in South America is very large. And Hitler, being one of the most paranoid leaders of all time, almost certainly would have had so many exit strategies that he wouldn't have gotten cornered in Berlin and committed suicide. He would have seen the end coming and probably made sure he got out safely. So the reality of Hitler... I think Hitler escaping to South America is equally possible to him committing suicide.
I don't remember if I did my joke at the beginning of it. So welcome to episode 1 of This Is Still Not the XFL. Good night, everybody.